Okay, so let's get right into it. From the outside, it looks like the global aviation industry is just soaring, right? Hitting new heights. But if you look just below the surface, there is some serious turbulence brewing. So today, we're going to break down this massive boom, the hidden risks underneath, and what it all means for you and your travels. First, let's just talk about the sheer scale here. By 2026, a pretty staggering 5.2 billion passengers are expected to fly. And we're not just talking about a post-pandemic recovery. No, this is a historic high. It signals a demand for air travel that we have literally never seen before. And all those passengers, well, they translate into some absolutely record-breaking revenue. In 2025, the industry is on track to smash the $1 trillion mark for the first time ever. It's a colossal number, and it really speaks to a golden era of growth. But, and this is a big but, here's where the story gets really complicated.
Yeah, take a look at this. You see that $1 trillion in revenue? Well, despite that massive number, the industry's net profit is projected to be just $39.5 billion. That's a razor-thin net margin of only 3.9%. And this, right here, gets to the heart of the issue. The industry is bigger than ever, sure, but it's also incredibly fragile. Any major shock could just wipe out those profits completely.
And you know what? Those shocks are exactly what we see gathering on the horizon. The first major area of risk comes from a global political landscape that's getting more and more unstable. And for a business that depends on open borders and stable skies, those are some serious headwinds.
Let's start in Europe. Russia is ramping up what a lot of analysts call hybrid warfare. We're seeing repeated airspace violations by Russian drones and jets in places like Poland, Estonia, and across the Nordic countries. Now, this isn't some abstract military chess match. It's a direct test of NATO's response, and it creates very real risks that could disrupt your flight or a vital cargo route at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, over in Asia, the whole strategic focus is shifting. According to the Institute for the Study of War, the latest U.S. national security strategy is pivoting away from direct military competition in the Indo-Pacific. Instead, it's putting economics at the very center of the U.S.-China relationship. So what does that mean? Well, it might lower the immediate risk of a military conflict over Taiwan, but it seriously cranks up the tension in other areas.
And this is where the rubber meets the road, right? This is how high-level geopolitics creates real-world problems for flying. Airspace can get shut down, just like we've seen in Eastern Europe. The economic friction with China can create huge bottlenecks for thousands of crucial parts needed to build and maintain aircraft. And all of this, it just adds complexity and cost, which, you guessed it, ultimately gets passed down the line. But the threats aren't just coming from the outside. The industry is also facing a really severe squeeze from within. There are these critical operational challenges that are basically putting a cap on how much it can grow.
First off, it starts with the planes themselves. Because of pandemic, factory shutdowns, and supply chain issues that are still going on, we have what you could call a missing fleet. The industry is short more than 5,000 aircraft compared to where it should be, and that forces airlines to fly older, less efficient planes, which drives up costs for maintenance and fuel, and it also limits their ability to open up new routes. And even if they had all the planes they needed, there's a huge question mark over who's going to fly them. Just look at this data for the U.S. pilot workforce. The percentage of pilots aged 60 to 64 who are nearing mandatory retirement has more than doubled to 13%. At the exact same time, the number of pilots in their 30s has shrunk. This is a demographic time bomb, a retirement cliff that's a real threat to the industry's ability to even staff its flights. And then there's the monumental challenge of going green. To hit its climate goals, the industry needs about $174 billion invested in sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF, every single year. But in 2025, the total investment in all low-emission fuels is projected to be just $30 billion. The gap between what's needed and what's happening is just immense. So where's all the money going? Well, here's a twist you might not have seen coming: artificial intelligence. The AI boom is attracting around $300 billion in investment. That's 10 times more than what's going into low-emission fuels. And it's a double whammy, because not only is AI winning the competition for money, its data centers are consuming a rapidly growing share of the world's clean electricity, making the green energy transition even harder for aviation.
Okay, so things sound pretty tough, but this isn't just a story of doom and gloom. Faced with all these intense pressures, the industry is fighting back. It's innovating through the turbulence and developing new strategies to build some much-needed resilience and actually improve the travel experience.
Which brings us to the really obvious question, right? With planes packed to the gills and margins thinner than ever, how on earth can airlines and airports possibly make flying better? Well, the answer seems to be redesigning the entire journey from the ground up.
Airports are being totally rethought with the modern traveler in mind. We're seeing the rise of things like the quiet terminal, which uses smart acoustics to cut down on noise and stress. There's biophilic design, which brings plants and natural light inside to create a calmer vibe. Outdoor terraces for fresh air, and some airports are even redesigning their whole gate areas to feel like a premium lounge for everybody. It's all about giving you your time back in a much more pleasant space.
And once you're in the air, there's this really fascinating debate playing out over the seatback screen. You've got one side, let's call it Team Remove, with airlines like American taking them out to save weight and cut costs, betting that you'll just use your own phone or tablet. And on the other side, you've got Team Modernize, with carriers like Delta and United doubling down, investing in slick new screens, arguing they reduce stress and really boost passenger satisfaction. It's the perfect example of that core tension between saving money and the customer experience. So after all that, what does this actually mean for you, the traveler? Let's pull all these insights together into a practical flight plan for how to navigate the skies in 2026. All right, first up, with those super thin profit margins we talked about, don't expect big price drops. Fares are probably going to stay pretty firm. That means flexibility is your superpower. Seriously, comparing different dates and even nearby airports can save you real money. Also, always check official travel advisories before you book. The global situation can change fast. And finally, digitize your documents, but please, keep physical copies too. You just never know when you'll need them.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. We've seen that aviation is in this fierce competition for both money and clean energy, especially with the explosive growth of AI. It really leaves us with a critical question for the future of travel. As technology demands more and more of our renewable resources, where is aviation going to find the power it needs to truly fly green?